Welcome back to part 2 of the wine barrel smoker. What we're going to be doing in this episode is mounting the hinge plates to the back of the barrel. I wanted the barrel lid to be sturdy whenever we lifted it up and not to be too flimsy, so I'm using a pair of 4-inch stainless steel hinges. And what we've done is we've mounted them onto a piece of straight grain fir wood. And how I got to this, I've used the template that we use when we cut out the plywood for the cradle, and just use that as a template to mark out my radius. And then I set up the bandsaw at 7 degrees and cut that out. And what I also did is I cut it out of a single piece of 2-inch wide stock, and then I took it to the bandsaw and cut it in half so that the two pieces would be exact whenever they're cut apart. And there I am, just laying out the hinge. I lay them out 1.5 inches from either end. I like having a fair amount of wood on the end of the hinge plates to avoid any cracking or anything. It'll give the hinge plates a good purchase on the wood. So there we are, just marking them out. And when you're laying out your hinge plates, always an easy thing to remember is people always put them upside down or back and forth. Is just look for the countersink in the holes, and you'll know that you're mounting them on right, because your screws will be a countersunk flush head screw when you put it in. I'll be using a number 10 stainless steel screw here as well once we get these routed out. Just make my marks. There they are there. And what we use is a router with a straight cut bit. I believe that's a 3/8 straight cut bit. So we'll be taking out a lot of the waste wood. I say about 1/8 of an inch away from the line, and then we chisel up to the line, leaving the line, never taking the line off. I've set the router in the bit, but I'm just double checking it here. I always like to do a test fit first before you work on your finished piece. So here we are, just taking out some random wood, and then we'll check it for the recess to make sure that the hinge plate is at the right depth. And there it is, it's nice and flush. If we had to adjust it up and down, we would at that point, but that's good. So we'll just take out the waste and then tool the rest with a chisel. What I like to use on the corners is a wood carving chisel. I use a 1/4 inch gouge, and it's a rounded chisel, and it works good on the corners because it's designed to go around corners. So we're just taking our time to get rid of that waste wood. And if you're uncomfortable using a router, you can do this all by chisel. This is just a quicker way of doing it. And if you don't like hanging on to it, please by all means use a clamp it to your table, or a piece of plywood that you can screw down to your table. Works. We like to use these carpets. We find them at the big box stores, and they're an entrance carpet that you see in commercial buildings. But it works good on all our tables and our benches whenever we're tooling wood, sanding. They work quite well. So now we're just going to check the hinge plates. So we're doing the other side here. And there we've chiseled out to the line, and we're just fitting them here to make sure that they're fitting in good. You want them nice and tight. Sorry about the glare, it's a sunny day. We'll take that. The sun's nice coming into the shop. I'm just going to get a countersink and some stainless steel screws. Because of this will be mounted outside, we want to use either stainless or a coated screw, but we'll use a stainless steel screw here to bolt our hinges down. Here we are just using a countersink. And you'll notice there's a center chisel there, and the set of chisels on the side, that's the gouge. It's a carving gouge. I use it on all the butt hinges that we do. It just makes a nice radius corner, very quick. When we're not using a template. But if you're only hanging one door or one set of hinges, it's good to do them by hand. There's our stainless steel screws. Those are 1-inch number 10 countersunk screw. Flush top. And we're just going to pop those in. There you go. I'm showing you the hinge plate. And so when you're doing this, you just want to make sure that you've got them lined up right. So you lay them on top of each other and make sure that your bottom is the wider to go down around the barrel. So the purpose of this is we'll be mounting the bottom plate onto the bottom portion of the barrel, and then the top one will be going on the lid. And we like to countersink our holes. Avoid just using a screw and going in without having a pilot hole drilled for them. You'll split your screws. Sometimes these center drills get clogged up. It's good to have a sacrifice piece of wood that you can just plunge it all the way down and clean it out. And there you go, just doing the rest of them. And then we'll melt that plate on. Just make sure it's in the right spot. Once our hinges were mounted onto the backing plate, there's our backing plate there. What I use is two-way tape on the wood itself and just fasten it temporarily to the barrel to make sure that it's in the right area I want it before I started drilling holes. And I was quite happy with that. I was a little concerned about not having enough wood underneath, so I cut another piece of wood and I'll be gluing that with tight bond to exterior wood glue. And that'll be going underneath the hinge plate. There it is, they're all glued up. What I'll do is clamp that on, and you can see I've fastened the base plate of the hinges flush with the barrel top. And there it is being clamped on, and I'll leave it overnight. And I also will be taking some glue and doing the top edge. I didn't want to wrap the spar varnish around the top onto the edge in case the heat coming out of the barrel and the smoker would interact with the spar varnish, and you'd get that sort of burnt varnish smell. So I've kept it to the outside of the barrel only. There it is. That's 2 coats of the spar varnish. And showing you my cradle again. My cradle's got pipe wrap insulation on it. I've done that because the wood was scratching the barrel as we're working on it. So I added that just to keep the scratches off the barrel. There's the plate there, now that the bottom piece is married onto it. And I also coated underneath the hinge plates as well with glue. And the exterior glue is a good coating for something that you don't want water to penetrate in. So you can see underneath the plates is a little darker there, and that's where I've just coated some glue. And the top is done as well. So we've mounted that back plate with washer head exterior screws. They're porcelain screws, so it's good and solid. And then we'll mount our hinges onto that. And what that'll do is keep the hinges squared to the barrel portion of it. And the bottom legs are on. You can see that I've got all my hex screws in. There's stainless steel screws as well. And you want to screw them right in the center of the stave. Only 1 screw per stave to allow the wood to expand and contract. And there's the screws screwing the back plate on. Like I said, I wanted a flat plate to mount my hinges and a sturdy one. So I put lots of screws in it. Those are our hardened screws. Here we are about to mount the handle for the lid. I wanted it to be a substantial handle, so we found a really nice hammered cast iron gate handle, and we'll be using that. Unfortunately, it was a little narrow for the feel of the barrel when you have big heavy gloves on, when you're reaching into the barrel to be pulling out coals or whatever the case. So I decided to extend it. I found these pipe couplings in one of the drawers, 1/2-inch pipe couplings, cast iron pipe. And what I've done is just wrap some 1/2-inch doweling with some tape, and I'm going to fill the interior of them and cut them off flush so that they won't wobble around when you put the screw through the center, because there will only be a 1/4-inch screw going through, and you will have that 1/2-inch hole. So I basically want to fill that hole with wood. There it is there, cut off flush and sand it smooth, and we're just placing it there to make sure it's in the right spot. The holes weren't exactly in the center, so you're going to want to do this if you're expanding this. Put them where you want them, and then you can mark out the holes and drill through. Every handle will be different, so this is our solution. But yeah, if you notice, the extension of the handle works good. So here we are setting up the drill press. We've got them in a wood vise. Just drilling a 1/4-inch screw through the areas where we're marked. And we'll drill all the way through. If you notice my bands on the back there, we had that set up for cutting the wood block for the hinges. You notice it's on an angle. I cut the angle and the curve all at the same time. Just made it easier, a little bit more precise. And once we get these holes drilled, we'll take these 2 pieces and give them spray painted black to match up with the handle, and then we just mount them on, and the screw will go right through the handle and into the barrel. So there they are there. We've inverted the barrel before we completed the lid We've mounted the stovepipe on, cut some tabs out, and just screwed that to the bottom. You'll see on top of the barrel we numbered all our legs where they're taken off and put back on. So everything goes back in the same spot.